So at this point, all three of Ekitike, Gyokeres and Osimhen have been linked with a move to Manchester United, and despite the difference in asking price, once you also factor in salary demands, the likely cost is going to be around the same for all three, unless the signing on fees or agent fees are inflated, of course. Now, I already went through the cheaper and less financially risky strategy that I personally would go for, so if you want to see my transfer suggestions, I'll leave that video linked in the eye above. But in this video, I'm going to be assuming that United do want to sign one of these three as the centre forward. But it's not as simple as just picking the best player, as really and truly it also depends on the right-sided interior forward that we sign, and so depending on whether it's Mbeumo or someone else, my choice as a centre forward may differ depending on the stylistic balance of the front three as a whole. And so that raises a few questions, which are what do each of these three offer tactically in the build-up phase, the middle third and the final third, and how do they differ in each of these phases of play? Why exactly do I think that the optimal player for the right-sided interior forward role is going to be different depending on which of these three is United's centre forward? And if we assume that the PSR cost is going to be around the same for all three players, who would be my preferred choice? Well, before I get into that, a quick reminder, if you want to check out any cheap, good quality football jerseys, go over to dragonjersey.com. They've got a variety of different current season and retro jerseys, including the new season jerseys when they do come out as well. They sent me over this Manchester United 2006-2007 long-sleeved home shirt with Ronaldo 7 on the back, as well as this Anelka PSG shirt from the 95-96 season. If you use code Atlantis30 at checkout, you'll get 30% off all orders over $100, or you can use code Atlantis at checkout to get 10% off any order as well, so I'll leave it linked in the description and in the comments section below. So I'll start off with the tactical analysis, looking at how each of the three players would function in different phases of play. So Amorim's strategy in the build-up phase, as I've said many times at this point, is heavily reliant on having a centre forward who is a physical target man, who can receive direct long passes from deep into his chest, feet or head, and link play efficiently with the players behind, whilst also having the pace, ball carrying, and ideally 1v1 dribbling ability, enabling them to be released into the channels and then be able to drive the ball into the final third, looking to create or open up a shooting angle for themselves. And this has been one of the best part of Gyokeres' game at Sporting, with the Swede at his best when playing in a quick transitional attack, whether it's an artificial counter-attack from build-up, or a more traditional counter-attack after a turnover where he has the space to run into and isolate a defender in a 1v1 in a channel. Now, Ekitike at this stage in his career doesn't have the same sort of ability to win physical duels as often, and then being able to link play efficiently from longer passes coming to him in the air that Gyokeres excels at, but Ekitike could still be a valuable asset when it comes to linking play with his back to goal, although he may have to drop a bit deeper in order to receive the ball to feet. However, his superior agility and fluidity in his movement compared with Gyokeres does give him the ability to twist and turn out of pressure in these areas before driving through the centre of the pitch, whilst also being just as, if not even more effective when carrying the ball into space in a channel and isolating a defender in a 1v1. In contrast, Osimhen doesn't have the same sort of close ball control and technical ability as Ekitike, but he is significantly better aerially and in physical duels than the other two, but having a combination of pace, Gyokeres' power and physicality, alongside Ekitike's agility and fluidity in his turning movement, and so whilst the other two, particularly Ekitike, are going to be a bit more controlled with their ball carrying and dribbling, Osimhen's power and hectic style may actually be the most effective in the Premier League. Now in the middle third, Gyokeres has shown for Sporting that he can be that link man at the top of the system, receiving incisive passes through the centre of the pitch, holding off a defender with his back to goal, and being able to use subtle layoffs and flicks in order to bring in on-running players into play. Now this is probably Osimhen's weakest part of his game, as his close ball control isn't as precise as the other two, but he would still be a massive improvement on Højlund. But this is where we start to see the first tactical difference between the three strikers, as I think Osimhen would require players between the lines to receive those incisive passes centrally, whilst he remains high alongside the centre-backs, focused on breaking in behind into goal-scoring positions. Ekitike on the other hand is on the other side of the spectrum, spectrum, specialising when receiving the ball under pressure with his back to goal, where from, unlike Gyokeres and Osimhen, he's able to drop deep, roam wide and vacate central areas, whereas even Gyokeres, ideally, he wants to be retaining a central position between the two centre-backs, and when he drops deep to receive the ball, he isn't staying in that deeper area and instead is going to be looking to turn and make a run towards goal, like Osimhen trying to optimise his ability to get into goal scoring positions. And this is where we see the main difference in how the system in possession has to be set up around each of these players as the centre forward. Victor Osimhen's advanced positioning will work to pin the centre-backs as deep as possible, stretching the space between the opposition's midfield and defensive lines, where from once a player like Cunha or Bruno Fernandes, for example, receives the ball in this area and forces a centre-back to step up and engage, this is where Osimhen can then look to make a sharp darting run in behind, looking to receive a through ball to release him into a goal-scoring position. Ekitike and Gyokeres also have the ability to do this, though Gyokeres is also able to receive the ball to feet himself, which would then suit runners ahead from central areas, which could be done by players like Cunha, Bruno, or really anyone who finds themselves in this particular central position and can break ahead of Gyokeres' static movement into a goal-scoring position. And it was this type of move that created Bruno Fernandes' second goal in the 3-0 win away at Bilbao in the first leg of the Europa League semi-final. Now, during this settled possession phase of play in the middle third, pushing the opposition back into their defensive third, without doubt I think Ekitike offers more variety, being able to drop deep to link play, receive the ball, turn and drive forward, sit high and make sharp runs in behind, or even pull out wide and look to set up 1v1 situations, with these high volume take-ons, carries, progressive passing and creative metrics that are probably already bordering on the elite level for a centre forward, as you can see from his FB ref report, show exactly the variety of what Ekitike can do. Whilst Osimhen and Gyokeres would benefit from having more of a playmaker like a Bruno Fernandes, Xavi Simons or Kang-in on one side with Cunha on the other, with those players looking to receive the ball to feet in tight areas before looking to use their vision and creative passing to find a run in behind, Ekitike is similar to Xerxes, in the sense that you ideally want players who can break ahead of their deeper movement, exploiting the space that Ekitike can create by dragging defenders out of the back line. And so in the front three, alongside Ekitike and Cunha, you probably want more of an inside forward who's primarily a goal scorer rather than a playmaker who also has the pace and the acceleration to break in behind. And so if we do end up signing Mbeumo, I think Ekitike or Xerxes as the centre forward suits him a lot better than either Osimhen or Gyokeres, whose high positioning is not going to open up that space for Mbeumo to break into, forcing him to be more of a creator receiving the ball to feet between the lines, which players like Xavi Simons, Kang-in and also Bruno Fernandes, if he plays higher, are all going to be far better suited to doing. In short, if you have Gyokeres or Osimhen, playmakers like Xavi Simons, Kang-in Ardagula or Fermin Lopez are going to be better options stylistically, whereas with Ekitike, inside forwards like Mbeumo, Ferran Torres, Rafa Leao or Lois Openda would be better suited to Ekitike's style of play. And so to me it just makes logical sense that rather than signing an interior forward for the right side and then deciding on the centre forward, I think you have to do it the other way around in order to provide Gyokeres, Ekitike or Osimhen with the best stylistic setup around them. Of the three, Osimhen would be my main target, bringing in Kang-in and Dwight McNeil to get the best out of him. If Osimhen was too expensive or just unattainable, Gyokeres at least stylistically would be the next best option, with the sporting man also suiting playing alongside Kang-in. But at left wing back I'll go for Theo Hernandez instead of Dwight McNeil, due to Gyokeres not providing the same sort of offensive aerial threat as Osimhen, with Theo's powerful third man runs from deep ahead of Gyokeres when he links play, and his ability to carry the ball at speed when he's transitioning the attack quickly via an artificial counter-attack during the build-up phase, being overall a more effective stylistic pairing than with Dwight McNeil's crossing and Gyokeres. Out of Ekitike and Gyokeres, whilst Gyokeres is better on current ability and his goal scoring does give him a significant edge, I just have a gut feeling that whilst after one season Gyokeres instead of Ekitike for £70 million plus a £13 million a season salary, at that point in time may look like the better deal. But after 3 or 4 years, I do think Ekitike at between £70 to £80 million, plus team achievement based add-ons and a salary of around £10 million a season, will turn out to be the better deal in the mid to long term, due to the fact that I think Ekitike's complete skill set, in particular his high volume progressive passing, dribbling and carrying output alongside his high non-penalty XG, and surely a significant improvement on his XG underperformance from this season, does mean that he probably has higher potential than Gyokeres, and so therefore is more likely to reach the elite level that players like Isaac, Salah and Haaland all currently occupy, which can be concluded by saying that whilst the risk of Ekitike flopping might be higher than with the signing of Gyokeres, the potential reward of fulfilling that sort of price tag is also higher with Ekitike. So if you play it safe, you'd probably go with Gyokeres, but whilst over the first 1 or 2 seasons Gyokeres may seem like the better signing, I think Ekitike in the long run could be someone who is challenging for the Ballon d'Or, whereas I see Gyokeres probably getting to a level under that. So let me know who you would prefer out of Osimhen, Ekitike and Gyokeres, and if you want to check out any cheap, good quality football jerseys, go over to dragonjersey.com. You can use code Atlantis at checkout for a 10% discount, so I'll leave it linked in the description and in the comments section below. And if you want to check out any of my articles or sign up for my Instagram discussion group chat, I'll leave my Patreon linked on the in screen now as well.